First off, I want to apologize for my absence. We had 2 hurricanes that were back to back, so it took a lot of my time. That being said, I want to give back to the community who has helped purchase my courses and whatnot. And we're going to do so by creating a run using chromatic harmony and just chords in the style of Tchaikovsky. Now, I'm not going to explain chromatic harmony here. I have a course on that, which I'll leave a link in the description. And it makes these things much easier to figure out. This is for people who have purchased the course and can see this stuff in actual usage in ways they may not have ever thought of. In addition, I'm producing a course on functional harmony, which will really help you understand chromatic harmony, as well as a whole ton of harmonic exercises that will be coming out. So, Tchaikovsky was notorious, well, not notorious, he would do a lot of runs like that, very high tempoed runs that were just purely chordal that would either expand out or converge in, meaning opposite motion. It gives the illusion of a lot of independence, but maybe at a speed like that or greater. And this is mostly in orchestral works because it's very hard to do that at keyboards, unless you're arpeggiating or something. And keyboard players, I apologize, this is not a video where there's going to be much keyboard type things. It's mostly notation. So the screen I pulled up is basically the harmonic scheme we're going to use. We're going to use D major and a bunch of chromatic chords that would occur. Let me play them all in a row. Fully diminished of 5, 5, 7th, 1, 5, 5 of 4, augmented 6. Now you have to spell that as a B flat 7 chord and harmonically the same sound. 5, 1. Now I have to figure out a way to make this converge on itself. So what I'm going to do is start on the A inversion. This is why you need to know inversions, okay? Inversions are super important to this technique. So we're going to do 1 with the A as the lowest note, fully diminished 7th of 5, 5, 1, 5, D, D7, G4. The augmented 6 in inversion, I talk about this in my chromatic harmony course. 5, fully diminished 7th of 5, implied 5, 7, and then 1. Instead of doing it that, sometimes you have to start leaving out notes when things start getting very close together because you start running out of notes. So we'll consider that resolution not a G diminished 7th to a C sharp diminished, which it still implies that A7 tonality because the upper half of that A7 is a C sharp diminished. So they both kind of serve the same function. Going through it now, a convergence sequence that's supposed to be that we're going to use at a high tempo. But let's do something first. Let's listen to the top one at high tempo and then the bottom one at high tempo, just with the piano sound. I'm not going to play them all the way through. So here it is. Top one. Sounds very disjunct. The bottom one sounds very nice and polished. The most important aspects here are these outside lines, and which are producing all these inversions. It's the same chord sequence above, but we have this convergence of the outside lines, which is the most important to making this sounding independent. And you notice the lower one only has one chromatic note in the D major scale, that G sharp. Well, the higher part is actually just a little bit more chromatic. So what I'm going to do is stop the video and go work this out in some kind of way in the notation program with some orchestral sample patches. I'm not going to bother mocking this up in the DAW or anything. We're just going to use this scheme. So I mocked something up in just kind of a condensed version just to quickly get an idea of what this could sound like. And then I'll reverse it and go back to a condensed version of this little scheme. It doesn't go very far because we're just demonstrating how to create those kind of Tchaikovsky-like runs. Just remember this, you have to know chromatic harmony, you have to know how to work those outside voices. So let's listen to this. So this is just purely notation sample playback, which is not that great, but to sample users, you may want to start learning to read, because you may be tempted to use full string sample pastures like this and play everything very percussively like this, when I'm actually not doing that in the part. And there's a tendency for sample users to play very percussively especially when you're going from keyboard to DAW. And what I try to do sometimes is make things a little bit more interesting in the inside parts by holding notes sometimes that are common. You don't really hear it. Let me change views when it goes by really fast, but I'll slow it down. Isolating the part. Now let's slow it down. So this is one reason you should start reading music and studying scores, because there's cool tricks you can do like this where not everybody's doing the same rhythmic part. So where a tone would normally repeat, there's a little hold there, so not everybody's playing the same line. So that's one of the limitations of always using samples and DAWs. You don't think of stuff like that. It will go unnoticed because it goes by so fast, but it's just little cool little independent line tricks you can do. So I made a condensed version of what the condensed orchestra version is. So this is kind of funny in that respect. And I tend to have this kind of same thinking that someone like Tchaikovsky would have, where everything's kind of in a horizontal plane, even though it's chordal. There's not a single non-harmonic tone in here. So as a bonus, I'll give out what the winds are doing. It's just 1 borrowed, half diminished 2. But there's also that set of triplets, very Tchaikovsky-like, in groups of 2. In other words, syncopation, groups of 2 in triplets. So here's another lesson on how to make chordal things sound independent. We're doing this. Okay. So you have this bottom part doing this. So it doesn't sound like it's just playing repeated chords, which it basically is. So before I went into the chromatic run, I did this little planing riff to get to it. So basically it's still the D tonality with passing chords in between the D chords. And then we go into our riff we came up with, but with a pedal point now. Here's another limitation of keyboards. I can't hold that same low note pedal point and keep this run going. I have to do it like this, by switching octaves and re-striking, when it was actually the basses were doing a little tremolo. At least the first time. So we move on to the second page. It's kind of an answer to the first time. We're similar in the wind groups again, but a little bit of a change up, just in playing 2 chords. This is why it's really important to know inversions. The lower part. You try to do these things in ways that produces a little bit of an independent sound when you play them like this, even though it's just 2 chords. And the borrowed half diminished 2 is a very Tchaikovsky-ish thing to do. And then we had that chromatic run up again, planing between the 2 D chords. Now the bass gets involved in the run because it goes to a half cadence now. And that's pretty much it. Let's listen to it. Looks like my little play marker got stuck there, but that's okay. We're not worried about that. If you're really interested in chromatic harmony and coming up with stuff like this, check out my chromatic harmony course, and it's in the description. And thank everybody who's watched my channel up to this point. Thank you for all your support. We really appreciate it. Again, this was just a quick mock-up of something to demonstrate a use of chromatic harmony in a run like Tchaikovsky would do. I'm sorry, I had a little bit of a brain fry there. Take care, everybody. But anybody new to my channel will know that I don't sit here and deal with a ton of video editing. Even in my courses, you're going to get just plain old straight down to business. So take care.